Before World of Warcraft, Blizzard sought to make an entirely different game. Like all nerds, Chris Metzen was and still is a Warhammer fanboy. They sought to create the license for Warhammer, which would then ultimately turn into World of Warcraft after they lost the license to Mythic Entertainment. As you can imagine, this love affair with Warhammer would ultimately carry over to Warcraft. The question is, can we learn anything about Warcraft by looking into Warhammer? We start our journey in the Warp, the Immaterium. The Warp, or Realm of Chaos as it is widely known, is a realm that exists alongside reality, but is largely inaccessible to mortals, as they are of the Materium, and the realm consists of the Immaterium. While it is possible for mortals to travel through the Warp, this travel holds grave dangers, and without something akin to a Gallowfield to keep the dark energies from ripping you apart and infecting you with chaos, you are almost certainly not going to have a good time of it. For a creature of the Warp to manifest, it requires an incredible amount of energy, and the Chaos Gods rarely, if ever, find their way into the Materium realms. Instead, they use proxies, mortals who become vessels for their dark goals and schemes, sometimes unbeknownst to even themselves. You can already see the similarities to the Void and the Warp. For a mortal, entering the realms of the Chaos Gods is nearly impossible. They can fight the mortal beings within the Warp, the demons and the fallen ones, but to face a Chaos God would largely be folly. Their strength and the abundance of chaos would mean the Chaos God would most likely rip you apart in seconds. This again rings true for the Void of World of Warcraft. We can fight the creatures and machinations of the Void, but to face a Void Lord inside the Void would most likely be impossible. We are made of matter, and the Void made of nothingness. It stands to reason that should we enter the Void with no magical protection, we would simply be consumed until nothing was left. In Warhammer, chaos is inevitable. The Warp feeds on the emotions and the souls of the Materium. All emotions, all actions, all souls upon their death enter the Warp, and it is here that the Chaos Gods find their substance. Trying to stand against chaos is therefore not a question of winning, but rather of postponing the inevitable. The Void, I would argue, very much operates on this very premise. It cannot be destroyed, it cannot be defeated. For the Void, time has no relevance. It will beat us, or it will simply outlast us. But in the end, everything will return to the Void. Or at least so they claim. The question I wish to ask: who created the Void? Who are its masters? And can we have any hope of standing against it? It's important to note that some liberties were taken with the Warhammer lore, since the realms of chaos are rather vast, and instances of mortals and beings fighting chaos gods do exist, albeit rare. One can also make the claim that the Warp, and specifically the realms of chaos, would be more akin to the twisting Nether. In this, I believe the Nether to be the child of Void and Light. As such, what is true for the Nether would be true for the Void and Light to varying degrees. Who are the masters of the Void? In a word, I have a crazy theory and you're not gonna like it. Let's start by looking at the Infinite Dragonflight. A peculiar dragonflight indeed. You see, the power of the dragonflights are largely the knowledge of speculation. We know they are powerful, but just how they control or amass this power is largely unknown. A popular theory for me is a sort of cycle, a closed loop that ensures the power is ever growing. The aspect of a dragonflight is powerful due to the blessings of the Titans. Yes, I have a slight problem with this theory, and you're more than welcome to watch the video on it. Link will be in the top right-hand corner. The brood, or the flight, gains its power from the aspect. In turn, their power again is transferred to the aspect. So, the more powerful the aspect, the more powerful the brood. The more powerful the brood, the more powerful the aspect, and so on and so forth. Destroying either the aspect or the brood will have dire consequences for the flight as a whole. I believe this to be the reason why Neltharion or Deathwing was so keen to experiment on the different dragon aspects, including his own brood. He was looking to create a dragon aspect or flight that would be powerful without the need for a brood or a connection to an aspect. He came quite close to this with the chromatic dragons. Sadly, their instability would be their downfall. The Infinite Dragonflight is another new dragonflight, whose origins are largely the stuff of myth. We know the father of the Infinite is Nosdormu, or Murozond, as he would become, but this is where this time stuff gets rather weird. Murozond has not been created yet, as far as we know, but since Nosdormu has power over the timelines, he created the Infinite Dragonflight in the future, and they have been traveling back in time to destroy and disrupt the timelines, to snuff out all dragon aspects, and to create a singular dragonflight, the Infinite, with their sole aspect, Murozond. Murozond and his Infinite Dragonflight seem to serve the old gods, or at least be aligned with the goals of the Void, to be precise. And it is here where our theory begins to take shape. The Whispers of Xal'atath and Il'gynoth provide quite a bit of clarity and more than a few questions around the Dragonflights. We know that during Dragonflight, the aspects in the flights will once again seek to re-establish their connection to their ancient power. What if this is the moment of the creation of Murozond? The Void continually speaks of the Master, the opening of his way. Now there is a play on words here. Is it masters as in many, or masters as in one? It could be either. But if it is Murozond, this makes so much sense. A creature set to destroy all timelines, to destroy all reality, and bring about nothingness. A creature whose sole purpose is the destruction of the material world. The dragon that feasts upon the world. What if the Master of the Void, the creator of the Void, the old gods and the creatures of shadow, is none other than Murozond? Obviously, there are many reasons to doubt this theory, and chief among them is that the Titans speak about the Void as a primal force of the cosmos. However, like in Warhammer, the Warp wasn't always hellbent on the destruction of the Immaterium. In fact, for a long time, the Immaterium and the Immaterium coexisted quite peacefully. Then came the war in heaven, which turned the Warp into chaos and created the Chaos Gods. So what if this too is true for the Void? At first, the Void was simply the realm of nothingness, the opposite to creation. When things died or ceased to exist, it would go to the Void. But the creation of Murozond turned the Void into an enemy, into a force that sought not only to play its part in the cycle, but a force which sought to overthrow it and subdue it, to ultimately consume it. As with all theories, this is mine and you will have yours. I would love to hear about yours in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to hit that like button, hit the sub button, and click that bell. To all of the patrons, Twitch subs, and YouTube members, thank you for your support, for exclusive content, behind the scenes podcasts and stuff. Join Patreon today. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one.